So, hello viewers. Today we have with us Mr. Rishabh Jalan, who is the CEO and co-founder of The Last Journey. The Last Journey, as many of you would know, is an end-to-end death care and funeral service provider in India. Welcome, Mr. Jalan.
Hi, thanks for having me, Tankaji.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. Acha. So, Mr. Jalan, tell me, how did The Last Journey, how was it conceived? Whose brainchild is it?
Me and Mr. Vikas Gutgutia, the other
Yeah.
co-founder, we sort of came up with this idea around 2.5 years back before COVID,
Hmm.
where we were
Hmm.
discussing that if each and every industry or vertical in India is heading towards being organized or getting formalized, why not
Hmm.
something like this, which caters to so many different castes or religions, and how we can sort of work on standardizing the experience for each and everyone in this space, and sort of cater to the help the families grieve when something like this happens in their life. And we spoke about it, and I think after a month and a half, a similar incident happened with one of my relatives, where someone in their family passed away, and as it happens in the Hindu society, the other relatives gather and go to pay the final respects. So when I went there and saw the overall condition, coordination of how things were taking place, and how a formal person could step in and regularize the entire process, and more than anything, help the family get through that difficult situation at that point in their lives. That's when the idea really cemented with us, and
Hmm.
we thought that we should take this up. And given that there are no other players who are doing this dedicatedly in
Hmm.
the industry, we wanted to ensure
Hmm.
that we sort of prove to be the leaders in this space and help families at this time.
So 2.5 years means 2.5 years means that just prior to COVID happened.
Yeah, around 5 to 6 months before COVID.
Huh. So how did you actually? When did you launch actually, and how did you go about it? Who was your first client? Like how it happened?
So see, the process in today's world is fairly simple. I mean, you'll have to be present digitally. That's the first
Hmm.
avenue or source that anyone goes on whenever they need a particular thing. So
Hmm.
we started off by making a website and doing rigorous Google marketing and search engine optimization activities to ensure that we were there when a person needed us. We needed to be present. We needed to be accessible. So that's one of the first steps that we took. And I think within the first month, just through our website, we started doing approximately, say, we helped 150 families in the first month of
Okay.
our operation. And this was us operating just out of Delhi, Bangalore, and Mumbai.
Hmm. So
So, I mean,
are
yeah, sure.
you are you still present in Delhi, Mumbai, and Bangalore, or you've branched out to other cities?
So, in addition to Delhi, Mumbai, and Bangalore, we are present in around 6 to 7 more cities. The
Hmm.
more developed ones, or the more digitally acclaimed ones, I would say, in terms of
Hmm.
Hyderabad, Chennai,
Hmm.
Ahmedabad, and
Hmm.
Kolkata. So, these cities, we knew that we would be able to make an instant impact because our strength
Hmm.
lies in how accessible we are through the
Hmm.
online search engines and how people could approach us.
Hmm.
So that's why we started with these cities. But in coming times,
Hmm.
obviously, we would want to enhance our ground presence, for which we'll be going
Hmm.
into tier two, tier three cities as well.
Okay. So tell me how does it actually work? Somebody approaches you. After that, what happens?
So, see, we are a team of approximately 40 people now. And the one DNA that sort of holds us all together, and why we make the perfect kind of family, is for the reason that we all possess the character of empathy. and
mm,
that's the first emotion or first feature that you need to show to a particular person who's calling you at that time in their lives, that yes, you are with them.
mm,
So when they approach us on through online and through our website, and we get the
yeah.
call on our call center, we have a dedicated call center working 24/7. So when the call
Okay.
drops in there, we help the client understand that yeah, these are the next steps according to the particular caste or religion that they follow. Because in this
Mm-hmm.
particular situation, there are people who do things differently according to the different religious beliefs that they have. So
Yeah.
we have a different set of vendors and different set of priests for each and every
Mm,
caste, so to say. So once we ask them all the details, then after that we explain it to them that these are the next steps that you would be requiring. You would require a mortuary van, you would require a priest to perform the pujas along with all the products that would be needed. You would require
mm,
someone at the cremation ground to ensure that everything happens properly and on time. You don't have to wait in long queues. And then
mm.
after that, we also give them the option of whether if they want to host a prayer meeting, we would help them organize that as well. So there are so
Okay.
many things, and I think in the past 2.5 years, this has something. This has been that something that we had given a lot of time on managing and on understanding how should we deal with people's emotions,
Mm-hmm.
especially at a time like these, and what all kind of help would they need, and accordingly try to inculcate our vendor base.
Hmm. So when you say like it's an end-to-end service provider, so where do you, how does it end? It ends with the Tervi puja or it ends with the cremation?
So see,
See,
what we
we have like it's unlike in West where or Europe where they have small ceremonies. We have long drawn processes here.
so
So,
how it typically happens in India, Tankaji, is that why we call ourselves an end-to-end provider is because we offer 360-degree services. When I talk about getting uh, local cremations done, suppose if a person has passed away in Delhi and the cremation needs to be done locally, that is one aspect of things. But there are many other things. When I talk about prayer meetings, you're typically catering to a size of say 400 to 500 people in,
okay.
organizing their high tea, organizing the venue, organizing the artist, getting the decor done, ensuring the entire event starts on time, finishes on
Mm,
time, is managed well. So all these things are the other nitty-gritties which are associated with death, but no one has really worked on. There is another
mm,
aspect where the aspect of repatriations, where if a
mm,
Indian citizen has passed away abroad, the mortal remains need to be brought back home. So there are no,
mm,
uh, I would say, corporate companies or professional companies doing that as well. That is something
mm,
that we have concentrated on. We have spoken to different embassies, we have spoken to different airline carriers, and we ensure that whenever we get a call regarding a case like this, we are able to get the mortal remains back home within say 10 to 15 days. It's a rigorous process. Obviously, you're sitting here and you're trying to ensure that things work according to your likings, your requirements back in a foreign country. But then we have
mm,
cultivated partners there. We have worked on many vendors there as well, and
mm,
that is what we mean by end-to-end services. That anything related to such an aspect in your life,
mm,
we are there and we
mm,
will ensure that we are ready to get you through that. As you mentioned, in the West, it is fairly simple because it's
mm,
become organized, and there are many companies now. A few of them are publicly listed as well, who are doing this in and out. So there, it's
mm,
more. It's easier and it's more accessible in terms of options. But when I talk about back here in India, firstly, the different religions, the different castes, each of them have their
mm,
own. Each of them want to feel like, yes, you have sent an expert priest who understands their entire caste the best. So obviously, it's a
mm,
very the framework needed is vast, is huge,
mm,
but we
mm,
are working on it, and we have in these past 2.5 years, it's been quite a learning experience, and
mm.
we'll continue to grow. I hope in the
Okay.
coming time.
So if I may ask you, how many like priests are actually there in numbers, if you can quantify that
See, we have a network of approximately 1,000 plus priests belonging
across India?
to across India, belonging to different cities, obviously
Hmm.
encompassing different religions. And
Hmm.
I mean, and there are no websites, or there are no companies who are working on an aggregating basis for
Hmm.
this. So it's not as simple as a B2B connection for us, but we have done a fair
Yeah.
bit of groundwork, and this has been after so many years of hard work of getting this
Hmm.
database for us.
Hmm. So database making must have you must be doing actual groundwork to connect with different people, different
Yeah,
priests.
whenever you do something new, obviously you have to start from the ground up, and
Ground.
this kind of research is much
Huh,
needed, and I think it has helped us a lot as well in
hmm,
giving us a different niche and giving us a different range of clients that we serve.
hmm.
So yeah.
So how challenging was it to get people on board? Because see, priesthood, they have their own ways of functioning, no, and the people who provide the wood and all they have their own ways of functioning. So how challenging was it to get them like to be with you?
So religion in India is, I
Hmm.
mean, you are much more senior to me, and
Hmm.
I'm sure you understand it better as well. And if
Yeah.
I have to put it in so many words, it's a very untouched topic. There are so many things that happen in the name of religion which people rarely question in India.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when we started our entire journey and are still treading on that path,
Hmm.
we figure that changing people's belief, changing
Hmm.
people's opinion, changing people's way of working when it comes to a sensitive topic like this, obviously, is very difficult, very different to operating in any other industry. You're literally
Yeah.
talking about changing age-old customs which have been going on for donkeys years now, and then you're trying to formalize an entire industry. So I think
Hmm.
it's equally it's very difficult for companies in today's world to garner customers or to create a loyal client database. But I think for
Hmm.
us the fight is pretty much the same on the on the other side of the line as well. When I talk about
Hmm.
the people, the vendors who sort of help us to ensure that the work gets done on time, they feel
Hmm.
threatened that their livelihoods would be at stake if a proper company
Right.
comes in this, and if they sort of make everything transparent, or if they bring in accountability, then what they have been doing, and which has been these kind of cremation grounds or these kind of companies have been passing down within the families for 10 to
Yeah.
15 generations now, and
Yeah.
because no one has questioned it, because no
Hmm.
one used to, people thought it wasn't a taboo. People didn't want to talk about these things also until unless they actually had to come in reality terms
Face.
with it.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
now, when companies like ours are standing up and trying to work for the
Hmm.
families or on the client side and ensuring that they don't overpay, everything gets done on time, they are happy with the services provided. So obviously, there
Hmm.
is bound to be some sort of resistance and change from such people, but
Hmm.
we are not here to compromise their livelihood in any way. I would say they do the toughest job. If I
Hmm.
talk about this particular industry, that
Hmm.
the ones who are operating at the cremation grounds, they have to
Hmm.
light fire to the dead body, or they have to work. There are no work timings as such that you work for 8 hours. You're sort of working in an environment which is very dull, monotonous, sad, heavy on your head, very
Hmm.
taxing. So they do the hard work, but
Hmm.
the resistance and the discouragement that we face, we sort of gather more strength from that, because we
Hmm.
understand how important uh, uh, an aspect we are dealing with here, and we will continue to strive to sort of bring about this change as the leaders in this particular space.
Hmm. So, if I talk about the Hindus, we have many rituals that we perform. Like it goes on till, I would say, a
The
year
creed.
of the passing away. Yeah. So, but even before that, after the cremation is over, after the puja at the residence is over, the asthis are to be drowned in Ganga and all. So, वहां पर are you there? Are you present there? Because that industry there is very disorganized, and if I talk to you, the pandits and all in other cities like in Delhi, if I talk to a pandit, they get very unhappy with the functionings that happen at Haridwar or Pehova or Gaya. So is are you present there? Do you take care of that aspect?
So yes, we do. We,
Hmm.
as I mentioned, that from the first step onwards, whereas
Hmm.
uh, uh, we take care or take control of the situation as a death happens in a family, and we are there till the end. Whether that is conducting a therapy for a person, also, which is considered as the end of the religious activities, and finally, in Hindu dharma, we believe that the soul ultimately goes to heaven after that. So one such aspect in the middle is obviously of ashes immersion.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
although we aren't, our team isn't physically present there, but we have spoken to different people who have been working there for the longest time, and we ensure that everything gets done
Hmm.
properly and according to the modern ways of even recording how the pandits there is immersing the ashes in the holy river of Ganges or doing the puja. So we are encompassing that as well. But in times to come, we will also try to have our team positioned there so as to ensure that the service
Hmm.
provided is of a superior quality.
Okay. And you were talking sometime back, you were talking about your presence, like you have to get mortal remains from abroad in case there are cases like that. So, how many countries abroad do you have your presence? Uh,
So we work on in most of the continents. We have done cases from North
hmm,
America, South America, Asia, obviously,
hmm,
from Europe, from Australia. So I would say we are present in most of the countries who allow for something like this to happen, because there are other countries who sort of don't let foreign companies expedite the process like we do through our channel
okay.
partners there. But
Hmm,
whichever country it is allowed, and I would say it's
hmm,
mostly in Europe, it's in the USA, it's in other parts of Asia like Dubai, Singapore, Australia as well, where a lot of
hmm.
migrant population of Indians are.
Okay. So, you have your franchises there, or how do you, or the entire work is done from India?
No, I mean the coordination bit is done from India, but we have our
Okay.
channel partners there. We have hired
Okay.
people there who sort
Okay.
of help us coordinate the on-ground bit.
Okay. So, as you said that India is a multi-religious country. So, we have Hindus, Sikhs, Muslims. So, among all the religions, who people are more open to it, and which religion gives you more clients, if I may ask?
See, I mean, we are Last Journey obviously is an all faith company. Whenever
Hmm.
approached with any kind of cremation or burial to be done,
Hmm.
we facilitate that. But since the entire methodology or the way of dealing with this aspect has been much different for these three religions, I think
Ah,
in the Christians and in Islam, you bury the person rather than getting cremation done. Cremation is fairly
hmm,
popular, or the go-to religious way of doing things in Hindus
hmm,
predominantly. So
hmm,
I wouldn't say one is more open than the other. I think
hmm,
all the in the coming times, all of them, all the three will evolve and sort of start exploring more options when they are faced with something like this in life, and not just rely on the offline way
Hmm.
of or word of mouth way of believing and doing things according to what a certain person says. So there's nothing to pick and choose, but I think overall, uh, if I can say nation, because these three ones are the predominant ones here, we have a lot of exposure and growth that we'll be seeing in times to come.
You won't quantify like.
I mean, we obviously do a lot of cremations, that is Hindu cremations more. I think 80% of the work, 80 to 85% of the work that we do is of Hindus, because
Okay.
the minorities, that is the Christians and the Muslims, have their own sounding boards through which they get things done. Like the Christians have their own churches that they believe in. So whatever the church says, they go ahead and do things that way. Then even in the Muslims, they have certain boards which have been established only for this particular specific purpose, and they straight away go there. So because
Okay.
of the population and because of the general magnanimity, obviously the more number of cremations that we do are of Hindus.
Maybe because there is no organized way. There is no one body doing it. There are multiple bodies doing it. That is why.
Yeah, that's true. And for the longest time, this has been under the municipal uh, uh, departments of various states. And although they have done their bits in terms of creating cremation grounds and trying to get organized infrastructure into place, but I think we are still very far away from that.
Yeah.
Although the recent developments that I've seen, where cremation grounds are being opened with the municipal departments on a PPP model, or private players or NGOs are coming in and catering to this particular space as well, especially after COVID. I see a lot
Okay.
of betterment in times to come.
Are you managing certain cremation grounds?
So in Delhi, we have taken a couple of cremation grounds. We have
Yeah.
taken it from the municipal department, and we are managing and operating it. But we are also
Okay.
in talks with opening our own cremation grounds, taking the
Okay.
necessary approvals and licenses from the concerned department here, and then running and operating it on our own accord on a PPP
Okay.
model. Yeah.
Okay. That is just happening in Delhi or in other cities also you're moving towards that?
So we are starting with Delhi NCR as of now. That is in we have one in Delhi, one in Gurgaon, and one in Noida. And after that,
Okay.
we would sort of want to show this proposal to other state governments as well, and then take over other cities as well. Because see, what happens is that how much ever you talk about technologically disrupting an industry, obviously, while we have managed to do a fair bit of that in the past 2.5 years, the majority of the people, whenever they are faced with a death in their family, end up going to the cremation ground, because if they
Yeah.
know of a cremation ground which has been operating for so many years, or they have heard that a new cremation ground with better facilities has opened up in their particular city. So we want to sort of start the entire wave of last journey from the ground level as well, for which we are thinking that having a state of the art crematorium to start with would lead to a lot of people realizing, yeah, that this company has come in, they have also opened a cremation ground, they're also providing these and these services, and ultimately it is for our relief that we don't have to go through different kinds of strenuous procedures, people asking priests asking for donations at the cremation grounds, or suggesting things like where you pay more money, then this additional thing can be done. So there should be complete transparency, and the environment which you are in when you're bidding a final farewell to the person whose family. Obviously, you want to do that in a place which is clean, hygienic, free of any other kind of malice, to say the least. So that is
Yeah.
aspect that we want to work on and bring in, that to create
Hmm.
a world class infrastructure where at least the final goodbye for someone
Hmm.
in my family whom I've cherished, whom I've spent so many wonderful times with, can be done in an area which is soothing, which I feel
Hmm.
so that, yeah, this is the kind of farewell that I would want to give.
So when you say that world class or state of the art crematorium, cremation ground, what do you mean by that? What would you do? What extra would you do?
See, when you go to the present day cremation grounds, most of them, apart from the wooden pyres that you have where you sort of place the wood and burn the mortal remains, there are no other basic infrastructures in terms of a waiting area, in terms of proper washrooms, in terms of people taking a bath after doing a cremation, because that's what people believe, that after you leave a
Yeah.
cremation ground, you should take a bath. You
Hmm.
There are no proper parking facilities. If people want to avail of electric or CNG cremation, most of the
Hmm.
cremation grounds won't have that. So all these aspects and facilities we want brought in. We want to have proper mortuary facilities for people. Nowadays what happens is that most of the children are staying abroad, so if a person,
Hmm.
parent passes away, or if someone in the family passes away, usually people wait for the other family members to come back home. So the body needs to be stored in a freezer or in a, mortuary for 3 to 4 days. So there are no basic facilities for that as well at the cremation grounds.
Okay.
So there are so
Okay.
many things which can be done, even in terms of upgrading the infrastructure at the ground level, which we are sort of catering to. And in the next 1 year, we should have three new open ones, which will sort of set a benchmark of how the cremation ground should operate.
Okay. So how many would be opened in Delhi and NCR?
Three,
Three?
totally, yeah.
Okay. Okay. And what about you are basically present in cities which are where tech, which are people are more tech oriented and all. What about tier two, tier three cities? Do you have plans to make inroads there?
Yeah, in times to come, ultimately, we sort of want to understand the market better and understand what kind of requirements actually come up. It's better to go into a place knowing what is to be done rather than going there and figuring out what can be done. So, yeah, I think in the next 1.5 years, we would also explore that particular chapter.
Hmm. And you mentioned about death literacy.
Yes.
What does that mean? Just explain.
See, death literacy, I would like to explain this by sort of drawing a comparison between the West and between India. So,
Mm-hmm.
death literacy, in its own very basic terms, means being aware that this is supposed to happen to you or to someone in your family in the near future, or uh, maybe after 20, 30 years. So,
It's an
being
inevitable
it's
thing.
inevitable, yeah. So being prepared for something of that sort, I think in the West it's much more mature when people now talk about buying funeral insurances. People sort of set that amount aside when they decide that, yeah, this is how I want to go. This is the mortuary van that I want to be taken in. This is the particular spot where I want to be buried at, or where I want to be cremated. This is the kind of decor that should be done. When a prayer meeting is hosted for me, these 300 people should be called. This is the menu that should be served at that particular event. So that is what is known as being aware of planning for yourself after you're not actually there. And in its very basic sense, death literacy also means that having such programs or activities where people understand how to care and how to treat the dead, or when a living person is no more with us. It starts with something as simple as thanatology. That is something which is a course in Western countries where people are taught how to embalm a person who's dead, or basically other activities that you should be doing to preserve the body, so that when people finally come and pay their last visit to the body, it should be in good condition. These are very basic things that I think in India we sort of run away from these topics. But in times to come, as you mentioned, death is inevitable. This
Hmm.
particular aspect is also inevitable. As of now, there are
There's a lot
still
of go on, go on.
as of now there are people who are doing it. It's not like India doesn't have these particular agencies or factors who facilitate things like this. But it's highly unorganized. It's
Yeah.
it's highly not transparent. Like, people don't know how much amount they should actually be paying for services like these. What we are doing is something that is already present. We sort of want to set a benchmark on it, that ultimately it's enough grief as it is. If something like this happens in your family, you shouldn't be exploited, you shouldn't be overpaid, is the only thing
Hmm.
that we are sure.
Hmm.
So
There's a lot
this is
of fear actually. There's a lot of fear about death, no? So, which comes in the way of death literacy.
there's a lot of fear about death. I think we also have that belief that we sort of don't want to talk about things which we don't completely understand or which we don't want to face. But I
Hmm.
think that's the new India, that's the new thought
Hmm.
process, new mindset,
Hmm.
where people want to be aware, people want to be educated, that okay, fine, even if this doesn't happen in my family, but if a family friend or anyone for that matter, if I know them and if I need to be any help, if I could guide them on how to
Hmm.
get this done the right way, then obviously I should know about it.
Hmm.
I meet so many
So,
people when I look to hire them for last journey, and they say that the kind of learning that we've had in 6 months here, I really wish we could explain it better to other people who are so scared to even talk about this or to join companies like these, because
hmm.
they haven't seen it on the inside, right? I think that's the biggest thing we need to work on, the death literacy.
Hmm. Hmm. So, do you plan to hold workshops, or how do you go about it? Spreading the information, talking about it. Is it only through the clients that you get clients and then you educate them, or and it's word of mouth going from one to the other, or do you plan to have something, some concrete? Do you have a concrete plan that you'll hold workshops, you'll do these seminars? How do you go? How do you go about it?
So
How is it?
Pankaj,
Is it actually done?
whenever you commence with a startup, I think one of the
Hmm.
more important things is that you need to understand the kind of fights that you need to pick, or the battles that you want to get involved into. As of now, with the current bandwidth that we have, and with the current list of priorities, I think the
Hmm.
kind of work that we are doing for the clients
Hmm.
on the ground level holds more importance. But for sure, as you rightly mentioned, I think as early as maybe 1.5 years, we would be
Hmm.
getting into the mind space where we would want to host workshops, where we would want to educate people that turning a blind eye towards something like this is not a solution in itself. I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at the problem, it's not like the problem vanishes, the solution comes to the front. You sort of
True.
take it head on with the right mind space, with the right kind of thought process, and you will see that
Uh,
that in fact it wasn't that big a problem at all.
yeah, you have to work on it actually. You
Yes,
can't
yes.
just, yeah, yeah. So, looking back, no, one thing more. How was the COVID period? There were many casualties at that time. So, how was the COVID period for you?
So COVID period for me, I would say was one of the reasons why I sort of got validity as to what we were doing was 100% right. With the
Hmm.
kind of infrastructure present and with the kind of help that was needed by people, I think during those particular 3 to 4 months when the wave was at its highest,
Hmm.
we did approximately, say, 1,500 plus cremations for people.
Hmm. Hmm.
And to the extent where So people approaching us was easy because we made sure that we didn't go AWOL and we had people catering to the calls that came in. But executing them on ground was a whole different task. We had
Hmm.
people waiting in lines for long queues and for long hours to ensure that the client we had spoken to would get its would be able to do the cremation at the right time as decided by them, to
Hmm.
ensure that the ambulance drivers and other people who were working with us were being kept safe in the best possible manner by ensuring they had PPE suits, by ensuring that they were eating well, sleeping well. So I mean, it's one of the most one of the most scary memories etched in my mind. But I felt glad that we started last journey when we did it. That was 6 months prior to COVID because we could help so many families.
So, looking back, how do you view your journey of 2.5 years?
So 2.5 years when I first decided that I wanted to do last journey, I had a lot of my friends, I had a lot of people in my family
Hmm.
that you're fairly young, you can do something else. You don't have to necessarily get into a space like this. People won't look
Hmm.
kindly upon you. Why make money of families like this or of people dying? So that thought process, even not just for me, but for all these people who used to ask me these questions, has sort
Hmm.
of evolved with me, has sort of evolved with Last Journey, when they have
Hmm.
seen the kind of work that we have done and how people say such beautiful things when we are able to help them, when we are able to service them in the right way. And they understand that yes, I mean, it was a good choice that
Hmm.
we got into something like this. And I
Hmm.
would say this for to each and every young person out there, for that matter,
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
trying to formalize or trying to regularize anything in itself is not wrong. Obviously, you should
Hmm.
make sure that the end product is the customer being happy. If they are going
Hmm.
through any particular distress, if they have any particular requirement, and if you're able to do that in the right possible way and at the right cost, don't overcharge
Hmm.
them, don't exploit them. Make sure that the
Hmm.
customer is winner always.
Hmm.
Then you
Hmm.
in turn will be a consequential winner. So
Hmm.
don't run away from any challenge. Always take it head on and don't be afraid to fight the bigger challenges first.
Hmm.
So that's how I look at the entire episode of Last Journey in my life.
Hmm. You are satisfied and you stand vindicated that whatever you thought of doing is a good thing to do.
It's a good thing. I would say I thought of a lot more things. And my vision is not just to get Last Journey to where it is, but
Hmm.
the vision is a whole lot more. And I'm confident in times to come with the right kind of mindset, exposure, and people like you also spreading the message for us, influencing thought processes. We would, as a society, as a community, evolve and move forward in life.
So, where do you see yourself, say, the last journey, say 5 years from now?
5 years from now, I firstly able to cater to a more wider diaspora rather than the number of cities that we are present in. Obviously, the first prerequisite is it should be a pan-India brand, where if in the minutest of cities or towns, if a person needs help regarding something like this, and if they believe in trusting Last Journey that yes, we would want to get it done through this company because we know everything will happen uh, smoothly, keeping our emotions in a priority. I would like to see that happen, and I would like to see people change their thought process regarding an activity or a company like this, for that matter. That ultimately we are here to serve you. Ultimately, we are here to get you through the toughest period possibly in your life, and
Yeah.
we are here to stay with you every step of the way. And once you start believing in such stories that yeah, this company sort of came up and made this sort of difference, that is what I would want to achieve in the next 5 years to help people understand the concept of caste.
Okay, okay. And we wish you all the best for that. And I hope you are able to touch many more lives. Thank you so much for starting it, and thank you for so much for talking to us. And I'm sure many people will come on board once they get to know more and more about the last journey. And we wish you all the best. Thank you for talking to us.
Thanks a lot for having me, Tankaji. Thanks
Yeah.
a lot.